What is up, YouTubes? We're here to catch up on the spoilers from the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, but I just gotta say real quick before I jump into them, to all my fellow Browns fans, as someone who grew up in Northeast Ohio, has seen like basically multiple decades of just sad misery to finally win a playoff game against our rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Y'all don't, it just warmed my heart. I don't know how else to say it. And to see us set the record for the most points in the first quarter ever in a playoff game was nice. To also just have that constant anxiety of how do we set a record like that and then still somehow lose the game. Because as a Cleveland fan, you're always just thinking, how do we blow this? How do we ruin whatever we've built up and not be able to finish it? But we finished it with all the adversity we had. We still finished the game and won, and it just feels great. And then we got the Buckeyes tomorrow. Okay, moving on from football, onto the Kaldheim spoilers. Some of these I think I touched on Friday night when I did my spoiler video. Anyway, let's touch on these again real quick. White Black is the Angel archetype. We get a nice 5-drop uncommon. Flying Lifelink is just so good. And it looks like White Black is also going to care about second spell casting type stuff, which is interesting. Then we see Doomscar Oracle. But here's a quick thing. I didn't realize this. I'm working on a Kaldheim intro video, so that's obviously going to touch on the lore. The Doomscar part of this, Doomscar Oracle, a Doomscar is when you have 10 realms currently floating around the world tree. And those realms sometimes bump into each other, and it just causes like massive earthquakes and all kinds of crazy geographical changes because of how intense the collision is. And the Doomscars, they call that a Doomscar, when two realms crash into each other. And I don't know if Doomscar Oracle here is happy about that happening or sees it about to happen or is trying to make it happen. All I can really tell is he's saying, hey, it's about to go down. And the artwork again looks pretty sweet, but he's clearly a white-black, I'm guessing. But the human archetype, I'm pretty sure, is white-green, so maybe this guy can flex between multiple archetypes. I don't know. I don't know if he would be saying, like, hey, I see this coming, the whole Doomscar thing. Maybe he wants to be white-blue and just help with foretelling counterspells. Time will tell. Then we get, for 1 green, like, this is just such a valuable card. This is going to be a great pick in Limited, for sure. For 1 green, basically your creature fights their creature, and if you have 3 or more snow permanents, yours gets +1/+0 and indestructible. Tremendous. Here, I finally figured out what this card does, because I just got on Scryfall, which has better translations than Mythic Spoiler, whatever site I used for the video on Friday. But Chapter 1, destroy target land. Chapter 2, take a land from anywhere, any graveyard, put it into play under your control, which is nice. So like, hey, destroy your opponent's tapped snow land that they need for their 3rd color they're splashing, put it into play under your control. And then the 3rd chapter is for each land you have more than your opponent, which you would hope is at least 1. You get a 4/4 troll giant trample token. If you have multiple lands, you get multiple tokens. Like, that's pretty nutty. But it is a 6-mana rare saga that takes 3 turns to get there. So, like, it should win you the game in Limited. I don't know if we're going to see, like, a white... Nah, I don't know. Never. I'm not going to go down that road. If this could somehow be standard playable as your, like, inevitability factor with blue involved. But, yeah. Then we got the whole white combat trick, or just 5 damage to tap target creature. And you're going to be feeling just like this guy if your opponent casts it on you. Sad day. We have... what is her name again? Tigrid, God of Fear. And she's obviously going into some commander decks because every time your opponent discards a permanent card or has to sacrifice a non-token permanent, you can put it into play under your control. As long as it goes to the graveyard, you're like, nope, come on over here. And then this thing that I guess she turns into, no, but her lantern, tap it, opponent's got to sacrifice. What does it? See, now I'm forgetting. Target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discards a card. Then you can just pay 4 to untap it. So, create unlimited black mana, win the game. Sure, seems good. Here's her fancy version. That looks pretty sick. These showcase cards, pretty awesome. Here we get a 2/2 that has the old first strike. So 2/2 first strike, tremendous value in Limited. Makes all your boasting stuff cost 1 less. And then when you boast here, you get it makes cost 1 less for each dragon you control. So as you boast with this guy, you can boast more and more. Or for cheaper and cheaper, I should say, because you only do it once a turn. But you get to create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Like, that's crazy. I don't know how easily you'll be able to pull it off, because I imagine in this archetype, right, there's probably red-white or red-black. No, red-green. Anyway, you're going to be aggro. So I guess the nice part is that intimidation factor. If you attack with your first striker, which is always a pain to block in limited, and then you could be taunting the whole, I got a combat trick, so you better not block. And then if they don't block, well, then you just get to boast with no worries of dying, because now you're getting a 5/5 dragon. You know, like, and then if you let them do it too many times, well, this card's just going to create a ton of blowouts, and yeah, it's a good card. God's Hall Guardian. This card I was not all that excited about when I first saw it. I was kind of like, meh, but it got me thinking. I'm hoping that with Foretell being a bit more exciting than, say, Suspend, shout out to Philip, I agree, since the card's exiled face down, it's more exciting than Suspend, because people don't know what's coming, doesn't have to be cast until you're ready to cast it, that I'm hoping Foretell slows the format down a bit. I don't want this to be another aggro where like white-green, or white-red or red-black are just really good archetypes, and if you borderline force them, you're still going to have an average to above average draft. I'm hoping that Foretell slows things down, because this thing costs 6, but if you're like, hey, turn 2, I got nothing to do, I'm just going to Foretell this off to the side, and then turn 4, you get to play a 3/6 Vigilant, that is more exciting than a turn 6 3/6 Vigilant cat. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping Foretell is like Kicker was in Dominaria, where it slows the format down a bit. People are really going for that max value play. And yeah, I feel like we've had solid aggro archetypes in the last couple sets. Hopefully that's not the case here, but it's also like Vikings, and I feel like Vikings would be an aggressive bunch. So anyway, we see Sika's Chariot, which in Norse mythology, Freya, is it Freya? She is drawn by a carriage pulled by 2 cats, which could be depicted by lions, but I like the house cat vibe. That works for me. This card, I think, could be standard playable, depending on how the format just changes. But to get a 4/4 for 4 mana that creates tokens, that gives you tokens, that like this just seems like a really efficient card. Yeah? And you don't often have main decked vehicle or artifact removal. So at least in best of 1, mono green aggro is not too shabby either. So could definitely, it has some potential. Now Vega, the Watcher here, seems like a hyper efficient card, and maybe the two spells per turn isn't just white black, maybe it's white blue, and it feels like more of a white blue thing too. But this is just wanting you to foretell stuff, so maybe white blue is more just like spirits foretelling all the things. 2/2 flyer, whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, i.e. foretold, you get to draw a bonus card. Like, that's ridiculous. Whenever you cast that foretell spell, you get to draw a card. This will win you limited games, because card advantage just wins you games limited. Fantastic. Undersea Invader, 5/6 giant rogue is an oxymoron. I don't know how you're a giant and a rogue. Because if you're, like, is that a trap? Nope. Smash. Is that door locked? Nope. Smash. I'm the best rogue. I don't need to lock pick it. I just smash the lock. Got it. Okay, that's how it works. You have a 5/6 that you flash in, and then it ETB's tapped. Maybe that's the flavor win. I'm a rogue, but it just takes me a second to get really sneaky. That's why I have to enter tapped. Got it. We got a 5/4 for 5 here. Your opponents can't gain life. Tremendous. I hope to see this in a lot of brawl games where you have all those mono white Heliod decks that just gain a ton of life. Nope, no more counters. Just shut it down. And the beginning of your upkeep deals 2 damage to each opponent. And it triggers only if it's on the battlefield or in your graveyard, and you control a giant. So, like, that's kind of cool. You gotta earn it, but still, like, it's, if anything, it's like just more value that it can trigger from your graveyard. And a 2-headed giant, on the nose. 2-headed giant with some giant synergies, big fan. Now, Replicating Ring, this is a card I'm probably more excited about than I should be, because it just feels like a janky, fun card for a commander deck. It's a 3 mana snow manolith, because you can tap it for 1 of any color. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you put a night counter on it, and then once it has 8 or more night counters on it, you get to remove them and create 8 colorless artifact tokens with the same name. They do not have the same effect, so you gotta keep that in mind, that only this primary one will replicate itself. But every 8 turns, you get 8 more of them. So just think of that value. At like turn 11 of your commander game, if you play this thing close to on curve, turn 11, you get 8 bonus mana. That's that's some janky goodness. That's all I needed to hear. I get 8 bonus mana on turn 11. I'm in. Let's do it. Okay, Broken Wings. Destroy target. Yeah, nice reprint. Spirit of Aldergard. A 0/4 that gets bigger for each other snow permanent you control. Helps you fetch a land. I'm in. Seems fun. What do you do again? White card. Enchant creature gets +2/+2. Oh yeah, and then you can pay 2, exile it, and you get to basically bounce an aura or equipment from your graveyard to your hand. Like, that seems fairly efficient. I like the idea that it's not just an artifact. Like, hey, we're not going to make it equipment. I want it to enchant the creature, but if you have another card that gets there somehow, well, this will just help you pick it back up and charge onward again with it. Seems nice. Now here, Reckless Crew, big fan of this card. Create X 2/1 red dwarf creature tokens, where X is the number of vehicles plus equipment you control. So it could be completely useless, depending on what you got going on, or it could almost win you the game. And then each token you create, if you have equipments, you can just like slap an equipment on it. Like, that just seems like a reckless card to play, but a ton of fun. So I'm here for it. Here we go. This is like a borderline, this is a fairly efficient limited creature. For 3 mana, you get a 3/2 that you can pay 1 in a snow, and it gets +1/+0 and menace till end of turn, which to me is just nice value to make your opponent hopefully have to 2-for-1 themselves. That's about it. Now this rare here, I don't see being limited playable. It's for 3 mana instant, create X 2/2 black zombie berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn. You can foretell it for 1 black, which actually probably is pretty good. If there's like a bloodbath of a combat phase, this could work. But unless you're like, it just feels like it's going to be better in Commander. Like, this is my response to board wipes or to some other shenanigans I got going on. Limited, it just feels like there could be too much risk. I don't know. Maybe the archetypes in the set, there's just a lot of combat and you're always trading away, and this gets you value. I feel like you have to get at least 2 zombies from it, though, to make it worth your while. Are you going to consistently creature tokens where X the number of non-token creatures that die this turn? Okay, I lied. I'm convinced this card will be playable, because if you play it for 3, or you foretell it and pay it for 1, whatever, if 2 creatures just trade, you just got 2 zombies, and it's not just your creatures that died. That's what makes it a lot better than I was giving it credit for. Okay, I like this card. I'm in. Let's do it. Now we got Snow Sorcery. Search your library for a snow permanent card, legendary card, or saga. Reveal it, put it in your hand. You gain 1 life for each snow. Great. I just like the fact that we got a tutor for something sweet. I feel like this is going to be best in something like a 3-color deck, depending on the sagas we see. But I feel like that's where you just get the most value from it. Here, it's an enchantment for 2 mana. Not too bad. Choose a creature type. All those creatures get +1/+1. Seems good. Now moving on to Sunday. Hungry Mob. Like Hungry Mob? Not really. When they attack, you can boast for 1 damage on any target. I kind of wish they had haste. Like, if they're a mob, right, you'd think they're raring to go. The fact that they don't have haste, I'm kind of bummed by. But, all right, moving on. Kaya's Onslaught. Seeing some combat trick shenanigans here. And I love that this is foretelling. Because that 1 mana combat trick just feels so good in Limited. Your opponent's, like, it feels nice when you play something from your hand. And then your opponent's like, oh, they only got 1 mana up. What could they possibly have? Boom. 1 mana combat trick that's foretold off to the side. Give your creature +1/+1 and Double Strike. Double Strike is also that alpha strike, I'm going to win out of nowhere kind of card. Big fan of it. Moving on to Faceless Haven. It's like a changeling kind of land. Only taps for colorless, but you tap 3 snow lands. It becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance and has all creature types. So, still a land though. Seems fun. Like, I would play it for sure. Annul, first I didn't realize was a reprint, and then I clicked on it in Scryfall and I was like, oh yeah, it's only been printed in like 12 other sets. Neat. But here it is. Annul, counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Probably would never main deck it in best of 1, but best of 3 would be awesome against like white-red, I assume. Here's another just busted card in any format. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it with an ice counter instead. Okay, sounds good. You may cast spells from among cards in exile your opponent's own with ice counters, and you may spend mana as though it were any color as long as it's from a snow source. I really like that little caveat on there. But this card just seems like busted. The fact that you get a 4/4 for 4 is already pretty solid. And then the fact that you also can build a zombie Night King army, busted. Just, you got to remove this card ASAP or it will remove your chances of winning. So there you go. Maskwood Nexus. This card 100% is going into my Grim Reaper deck. Creatures you control are every creature type. Thank you. Scarecrows, we're here for it. And then creature cards you own that aren't blah, 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 all the same stuff. You just pay 3, tap it. with Reaper King on the battlefield, it's like, oh, destroy target permanent for 3 mana, tap it. Love it. I mean, this card just seems like Wizards knows this card's going to be good and just be all kinds of fun for a lot of degenerate things, and I'm here for it. So here we go. Here we get a 2/5 elf, cleric elf, that when it ETBs either gives a creature, either you gain life based on the greatest number of creatures you control, or target opponent, each opponent loses X life. Again, another 2-headed giant card. So this is, if you have your elf army assembled, this could be your game winner, or it could be the thing that helps you win the race. It seems like a really efficient card as long as you have more elf payoffs. It being just a 2/5 isn't the most exciting stats, but that ETB ability, quite good. Eradicator Valkyrie. Well, a 4/3 flying lifelink hexproof from Planeswalkers that helps you sack your dinky, not needed creatures and make your opponent sacrifice a creature that's probably way better. Or a Planeswalker. Seems good. Angel Berserker. What a creature combo. Okay, then Snakeskin Veil. This will definitely be standard playable, definitely limited playable. The 1 mana combat trick that also gives a permanent buff to the creature. A 1/1 counter for 1 green at instant speed is decent, but the fact that you give it hexproof, so good, it's going to be annoying. Bloodline Pretender. It's a 2/2 changeling that whenever another creature of the chosen type that you say when it ETBs, you get to put a 1/1 counter on this. So it's going to go in every Tribal Matters deck, which is going to be most of the archetypes, I imagine. And yeah, this I would assume this is going to be a first pickable kind of card, because it just plays in everything. Like, why not? Litjara Kinseekers, 2/4 changeling. When it ETBs, if you control 3 or more creatures, put a 1/1 counter on it and scry 1. A 3/5 for 4 mana that scries 1 and is every creature type you want. Seems good. If it's a 2/4 for 4, that's every creature type, depending on how strong your tribal synergies are. Borderline playable, not playable. Yeah, I think the upside though, I would play this, but it's going to be in like that 19 to 23rd card in your deck. It's not going to be your top tier options, but fine filler, I assume. 1/1 Guardian Gladewalker, 1/1 changeling that puts a 1/1 counter on something. It reminds me of whatever the green creature is in Zendikar Rising. That is rather solid. It's a creature matters type, and it buffs something, whether it's itself or the other thing that needs to get through. I think this will be a solid play for sure. This right here is a 1/1 that when you cast your second spell, or 2 spells, in the same turn, it gets 2 1/1 counters and menace. Like, that's good. I don't know if you're going to get instant speeds, and I think if you play this thing on curve, the likelihood of you consistently pumping it is not great. But if you can somehow go turn 2 this, turn 3 1-drop and a 2-drop, maybe you can't really foretell anything turn 1. Like, best case scenario, it's a 3/3 with menace on turn 3. Turn 4, it's probably still a 3/3 menace. Turn 5, it turns into a 5/5 with menace, but you can't keep up combat tricks. Or you could. In a way, you could keep up the combat tricks to pump up your other creature attacking and then pseudo pump this one up. Yeah, this will lead to either a lot of blowouts or a lot of just like, I played a 1/1 that does nothing because I'm not going to get to do 2 things in 1 turn. And then right here, a 2/2 that if it dies with power 3 or greater, it replaces itself with a zombie berserker token. Thanks. 2/2 for 2, not too shabby. I don't know how it's going to get pumped or would consistently be pumped to get that zombie. But this could either be, again, that like 19 to 23 value cards in your limited deck, or it's going to be a card that you're like, I'm going to play 4 or 5 copies of this. I'm going to play every copy I can get of it because it's that good. And then the card I skipped over. This card seems pretty good. A 0/0 changeling that can ETB as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow in addition to its other types, and it ETBs with 2 1/1 counters on it and has changeling. So, yeah. Like, for 5 mana, if you just play this as a 2/2 changeling, that feels all kind of bad. If you play it as a copy of something like Eradicator Valkyrie, you win the game. Now, granted, are you going to play it in that deck? Probably not. This is going to be like, I feel like this is going to be similar to other cards where it's like it leads to a blowout or it just feels all kind of bad. It doesn't feel like a great stabilizer. Maybe it does. I don't know. I'm almost picturing this as it's best suited to be in a 3-color deck like blue, green, red, where you get to bring it in as a giant. That's even more difficult to deal with. I don't know. I mean, I'm really enjoying digging into these archetypes and kind of seeing like, ooh, are we going this way? And then seeing if the cards that get spoiled later on this week support it, or if we're going in a different direction. How often are 3-color decks going to happen? How aggressive is it going to be? These are all questions I'm trying to answer, and I feel like we're getting closer. But we still got like 9 days of spoilers to go. So yeah. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. Hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know how y'all's weekend went. If you're a Steelers fan, sorry, not sorry. But yeah, we'll see you in the next video, my friends. I hope you all have a great week. Take it easy. Peace.